Jack Benny was an American comedian, vaudevillian, radio, television, and film actor, and violinist. Recognized as a leading American entertainer of the 20th century, Benny portrayed his character as a miser, playing his violin badly. In character, he would claim to be 39 years of age, regardless of his actual age. Benny was known for comic timing, and the ability to create laughter with a pregnant pause or a single expression, such as his signature exasperated, well, his radio and television programs, popular from the 1930s to the 1970s, were a major influence on the sitcom genre. Early life. Benny was born in Chicago, Illinois, and grew up in neighboring Waukegan, Illinois. He was the son of Maya Kubelski and Emma Sachs Kubelski. His parents were Jewish. Maya was a saloon owner, and later a haberdasher, who had emigrated to America from Poland. Emma had emigrated from Lithuania. Benny began studying violin, an instrument that became his trademark, at the age of 6. His parents hoping for him to become a professional violinist. He loved the instrument, but hated practice. His teacher was Otto Graham Sr., a neighbor and father of Otto Graham of NFL fame. At 14, Benny was playing in dance bands in his high school orchestra. He was a dreamer and poor at his studies, and was ultimately expelled from high school. He did poorly in business school later, and at attempts to join his father's business. At age 17, he began playing the violin in local vaudeville theaters for $7.50 a week. He was joined by Ned Miller, a young composer and singer, on the circuit. In 1911, Benny was playing in the same theater as the young Marx Brothers. Minnie, their mother, enjoyed Benny's violin playing, and invited him to accompany her boys in their act. Benny's parents refused to let their son go on the road at 17, but it was the beginning of his long friendship with the Marx Brothers, especially Zeppo Marx. The next year, Benny formed a vaudeville musical duo with pianist Cora Salisbury, a buxom 45-year-old widow who needed a partner for her act. This provoked famous violinist Jan Kubelik, who feared that the young vaudevillian with a similar name would damage his reputation. Under legal pressure, Benjamin Kubelski agreed to change his name to Ben K. Benny, sometimes spelled Benny. When Salisbury left the act, Benny found a new pianist, Lyman Woods, and renamed the act from Grand Opera to Ragtime. They worked together for 5 years and slowly integrated comedy elements to the show. They reached the Palace Theatre, the Mecca of vaudeville, and did not do well. One evening, his violin performance was booed by the troops, so with prompting from fellow sailor and actor Pat O'Brien, he ad-libbed his way out of the jam and left them laughing. He received more comedy spots in the revues and did well, earning a reputation as a comedian and musician. Shortly after the war, Benny developed a one-man act, Ben K. Benny, Fiddle Phonology. He then received legal pressure from Ben Burney, a patter and fiddle performer, regarding his name, so he adopted the sailor's nickname, Jack. By 1921, the fiddle was more of a prop, and the low-key comedy took over. Benny had some romantic encounters, including one with dancer Mary Kelly, whose devoutly Catholic family forced her to turn down his proposal because he was Jewish. Benny was introduced to Kelly by Gracie Allen. Some years after their split, Kelly resurfaced as a dowdy fat girl and Jack gave her a part in an act of 3 girls. One homely, one fat and one who couldn't sing. In 1921, Jack accompanied Zeppo Marx to a Passover Seder in Vancouver at the Marx residence where he first met 14-year-old Sadie Marx. Their first meeting did not go well when he tried to leave during Sadie's violin performance. They met again in 1926. Jack had not remembered their earlier meeting and instantly fell for her. They married in 1927. She was working in the hosiery section of the Hollywood Boulevard branch of the May Company, where Benny courted her. Called on to fill in for the dumb girl part in a Benny routine, Sadie proved to be a natural comedian. Adopting Mary Livingston as her stage name, Sadie collaborated with Benny throughout most of his career. They later adopted a daughter, Joan. In 1929, Benny's agent, Sam Lyons, convinced Irving Thalberg, American film producer at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, to watch Benny at the Orpheum Theater in Los Angeles. Benny signed a 5-year contract with MGM, where his first role was in the Hollywood Review of 1929. The next movie, Chasing Rainbows, did not do well, and after several months Benny was released from his contract and returned to Broadway in Earl Carroll's Vanities. At first dubious about the viability of radio, Benny grew eager to break into the new medium. In 1932, after a 4-week nightclub run, he was invited onto Ed Sullivan's radio program. Uttering his first radio spiel, "This is Jack Benny talking. There will be a slight pause while you say, 'Who cares?' radio." History: Benny had been a minor vaudeville performer before becoming a national figure with the Jack Benny program, a weekly radio show that ran from 1932 to 1948 on NBC and from 1949 to 1955 on CBS. It was among the most highly rated programs during its run. Benny's long radio career began on April 6, 1932, when the NBC commercial program department auditioned him for the NW Air Agency and their client, Canada Dry, after which Bertha Brainard, head of the division, said, "We think Mr. Benny is excellent for radio, and while the audition was unassisted as far as orchestra was concerned, we believe he would make a great bet for an air program." Recalling the experience in 1956, Benny stated that Ed Sullivan had invited him to guest on his program, and the agency for Canada Dry Ginger Ale heard me and offered me a job, with Canada Dry Ginger Ale as a sponsor. Benny came to radio on the Canada Dry program, on May 2, 1932, on the NBC Blue Network and continuing for 6 months until October 26, moving to CBS on October 30. With Ted Weems leading the band, Benny stayed on CBS until January 26, 1933. Arriving at NBC on March 17, Benny did the Chevrolet Prado program until April 1, 1934. He continued with sponsor General Tire through the end of the season. In October 1934, General Foods, the makers of Jell-O and Grape Nuts, became the sponsor, strongly identified with Benny for 10 years. American Tobacco's Lucky Strike was his longest-lasting radio sponsor, from October 1944 through to the end of his original radio series. The show switched networks to CBS on January 2, 1949, as part of CBS President William S. Paley's notorious raid of NBC talent in 1948-49. It stayed there for the remainder of its radio runs, ending on May 22, 1955. CBS aired repeat episodes from 1956 to 1958 as The Best of Benny.